Hey, how's it going, guys? Raul Lucario here, and before we get into my brand new project, Gaming Through the Ages, I have a little unfortunate bit of news. I have of my friends in the party, JB, TL, and Llama, and Llama's audio didn't record for the session, so you're gonna hear me talking to someone and then not hear what he asked, and I apologize, but there's just nothing I can do for it. It's just a stupid PlayStation setting that exists, so I hope this doesn't bog down your experience, and I promise for other episodes of the show, this will not be an issue. I will make sure to take care of this for other episodes. So I hope you guys do enjoy this episode, and if you do, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you a little later. Goodbye. Alright, hello everybody, my name is Raul Lucario, and welcome to a new project that I'm working on called the Gaming Through the Ages podcast. Today, I have with me my friends JBW, Glacier, and Llama to talk about one of the most influential games of all time, The Legend of Zelda for the original NES. And before we get into things, I just want to explain how this podcast is going to work. I'm just going to talk about the show in an informative and, well, fun manner. And then we'll just have a fun time with it. And then I want to do an episode at least once a month. Depending on my schedule, it might be a little different, but as long as everything goes according to plan, try for once a month. So, how are you boys doing today? Are we excited for Zelda time?
I've never played Zelda, so
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
Uh, yeah. So, all right. So the first, so we are a very intelligent panel, in case you cannot tell. Lamp oil, rope, bomb. It took us 2 minutes to reference the CDI game. 2 minutes.
Christ.
Oh.
I'm gonna turn down my mic a bit.
Oh my
God,
goodness, bro. I want this to be somewhat informative. Please. We don't
Man,
need...
I'm so angry. Man, I'm so angry I can eat an Octorok.
Oh, dude. Sorry, Link. We don't take credit. Come back when you're a little richer. Okay, so Legend of Zelda, I think, to me, is a very influential game for one reason and one reason only. Well, okay, not really one reason, but it's actually the first open world game. Any open world game you can think of, from Arkham to, I don't know, like GTA, has this game to owe to it. I mean, that's crazy to think about, right? Like, GTA would not exist without The Legend of Zelda. That's a funny statement to say, I think. I mean, I think we all like open world games here, right? Or at least have played one. I
Yeah,
mean,
mostly.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe.
Yeah. It's so cool. I mean, it's a very magical game to think that you can just go through and walk in this world and do whatever you want. There's a preferred order to do it, but you don't have to do it that way. And that's mind-boggling design for me for a game from this era, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
To be honest, I haven't really played much of Zelda. Like, it's been a long time since I played
right.
the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. And I'm
Hmm.
surprised that Nintendo haven't really, well, referenced it in a long time.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do my first episode on The Legend of Zelda as opposed to, like, say, Super Mario Brothers, because when everybody thinks of the NES, they think of Super Mario Brothers. And I love Mario. I love that series, but that game is just kind of mid. Like, it is not aged well, I think. Whereas I can always pop in The Legend of Zelda and always have a good time because of how
Um,
open it is and how
in my dumb
innovative.
opinion, I feel like for me, the original Mario Bros. Kind of feels half baked because of how the controls
Right.
function. I feel like it's kind of dumb that I feel like it's kind of dumb how everything is like basically programmed in the world, and I like the Mushroom Kingdom and all, but you gotta admit, the land of Hyrule and the world that the Legend of Zelda provides is imaginative when it comes to
Oh
like the
yeah.
fantasy genre.
Right. Yeah, and it's really funny because the games start off in a very similar way if you think about it. They both just plop you in the first level and tell you to go. But I think the difference with Mario and Zelda is that Mario tells you to go right. Zelda tells you to go anywhere you want, you know? And that level of freedom, comparing the two games at least, it blows my mind, honestly, that this was even made at the time. It really does.
Um, yeah, and I think that, in my opinion, the original Legend of Zelda may not be the best, in my opinion, but it
Mm.
does hold a place in my heart for being, or definitely earning its title of a NES classic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Like if you have an NES and you don't have this in your collection, then you're doing something wrong. Like really, you are. I guess it.
Wow, I really wish I had an NES in my collection.
You're doing a crime worse than piracy, not owning the Legend of Zelda on the NES.
Think about not owning Legend
Yeah.
of Zelda. I don't even own an NES.
I
uh,
mean, you have
a
a
a
Switch,
crime
right?
worse than
No.
pirating is not owning The Legend of Zelda. That's your justification for pirating The Legend of Zelda. It would be a crime to not own it.
So I'll do crime to own it.
I will do crime to not commit crime. Oh, that's what we
Oh,
call
that's
a
golden.
that's what we
Oh,
call a
that's
Giga
golden.
Chad function right there. Oh,
Modern problems require modern solutions.
yes. That Dave Chappelle
Yes.
was talking about pirating a game from that's over 30 years old when he said that.
When I forgot when the original Zelda came out. Be honest.
Well, it came out in 1986, and
Man.
just so you guys are clear, they can't see my screen right now, so they don't know that they're looking at the title screen that also has the exact year the game came out. Um, I just like to to clarify that. Um, Also, interesting thing about this game, I don't know if it is the actual first, because I wasn't able to find any concrete evidence, but I believe it's the first game, if not one of the first, to have a side quest, to have something that is completely optional. You have no need to do it. You only do it if you want to, and that is to bring the letter from the old man at the top right of the map to any of the old women, and then if you do that, the old women will start selling you potions. But you don't
Hmm.
need that in order
Um.
to beat the game.
Speaking of old man, can we forget that the fact that, in a way, being plopped into the world first time, you see that strange looking door. You go down and you hear these iconic lines that kind of start your whole
Right.
adventure.
Take this.
It's
Take this.
dangerous to
Hands you a
go
wooden
take
dildo.
this.
Uh,
What?
we're gonna get sued. Oh, dude. I think yeah, the cave with the old man in it. I think the only thing that bothers me is that they didn't bother to program other old man sprites or like variations thereof, because it's like it's never explained that like the old man has magic or anything, so he just kind of like shadow warps into every location that he exists in, because like because with the other ones, like there's like the moblin that sells stuff to you and whatnot. Like those could just be other moblins because they all look the same, you know. But it's very it's very subjective. And
Also, Raw, he's not. Oh, it's not Raw, I meant Llama. Freaking man, go ahead.
no, you can go.
I had a stupid joke at him saying, "Hey, Llama, he's not short. He's just so skinny they can just jimmy through the pixels to get to a different area."
Bro. uh, oh my goodness. That's what like those hand enemies do, dude. They literally like BLJ through the wall to get your stuff, dude.
Oh, I have a story about those.
Oh,
I used to be afraid of those as a kid. Okay, I wasn't around because I wasn't born in 1980. I was born in the 2002 or so. But I
Right.
did get to play the original Legend of Zelda because one of my folks had an NES. I remember that out of all the enemies in Zelda, that was the one that creeped me out the most. The
I can
way how it
imagine.
just moves, the fact that it's just a big old disembodied hand, it just grabs you and drags you into the first room in the dungeon. Oh, it was
Yeah.
scary. Let's
I
just
know.
say that as time went on, in my opinion, it's not. It has gotten more scarier. I mean, Ocarina of
Right.
Time. Come on.
Hey, I mean, hey, so I guess they did a good job. So I guess you got to give a hand to the developers.
Indeed, you do.
Oh my fucking god.
JB's our pun guy. He's a
Oh
pun
my
guy and a
fucking
fun
god.
guy. Mushroom
Oh
man.
my.
Uh, yeah, that's something to think about with those old NES games. How, like now you have games like, like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, or stuff that are made solely to scare you. But back then, when you didn't have stuff like that, all it took was a few pixels shaped like a hand to make you crap yourself. That's all it took because that was all you had. And that was
Oh wait,
that's so
sorry, Ross.
impressive.
Sorry,
What?
Ross. Speaking of that, this is
Mm-hmm.
technically unrelated to like Legend of Zelda. But
Sure.
speaking of like old games having things that are still terrifying without even basically trying to, this is
Mm-hmm.
really bad Frogger game that was like a 3D platformer. It legitimately had the most terrifying cow that was so awful to look at.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, actual nightmare fuel, and it spun its head around a full
Oh,
360. It's
dude.
like what?
That it
Oh.
reminds me of like the
Oh.
the the unagi from Mario 64. Like the
Have you
eel.
seen the cow?
Oh no, I have not. That
Oh, you
thing's.
guys see that cow?
Oh.
Look up Frogger in the Great. I think it was the Great Quest.
Oh,
That
I'll
Oh
do
game's
it after.
no.
horrifying.
Oh no 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 no. We don't talk about that game
I'll
ever.
do.
The
I'll
cow in
do it.
that was all horrifying. Jeez.
Oh, dude, yeah,
Oh
that
boy,
cartoon.
smooching time.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then Link just has to go see the king for like sexual harassment training. It's like that was something else,
Sexual
man.
harassment.
He literally like sees Zelda lying on her bed and is like, just
Ooh,
assumes that
smooching
that
time.
means
Oh boy,
that
smooching
means that
time.
he's gonna get to plant his master sword back in the ground.
No.
Like, dude, that's oh man.
Okay, so I have watched a good handful of the Zelda cartoon, and kind of like the other cartoons, those help made by Deke or whatever. I don't think
Right.
it really aged well. Like, oh, oh boy, I'm gonna lie. Most of the jokes don't land for me. Like the animation, in my opinion, is fine. The music,
Yeah.
I'm okay with the music, but Link, oh, every time I see Link, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I want to punch him in the
You
face.
know,
Oh, you think
do you want to know the
that cartoon
funniest
aged
thing
bad?
about the cartoon to me? I don't want to keep going on and on about the cartoon, but the funniest thing to me is that in games, right, Link never talks, right? You only get to see what he's saying through dialogue boxes, and even then it's kind of rare he says anything. And everybody is basically begging Nintendo to make him talk. But then you have this one piece of media where he just never shuts up. And I watch it and I'm just like, bro, please stop. Stop.
Shut up.
Oh.
Also, sorry, but Glacier, you want to talk about something that didn't age properly? Does no one remember that like Nazi Koopa thing from the Mario Brothers cartoon?
Oh, dude, let's not even go down that road, yeah.
No!
Let's not. They were doing a parody of Indiana Jones on the show, and the Koopas took
I
the place of the
know.
Nazis. But yeah, it was awful. Back to our
Uh,
original topic here of the Zelda. There's actually a very interesting difference that I'm sure a lot of you watching this know, but because these people haven't played a lot of it, I want to talk about it a little bit because it's actually a very interesting thing. So for you guys who don't know, in the Famicom version, the original Famicom actually had a microphone on its second
Mm-hmm.
controller for some reason. It was just there so you could speak into it. And there are actually enemies in the Japanese version of the game that will either be weakened or killed by you yelling into the microphone of that second
Like the
controller port.
like the pose. Or what are they called?
Yeah, yeah, the pogos I think they're called, the ones with the whiskers. And then there's
Yeah, yeah,
also a
yeah.
boss in a dungeon too that's also weak against sound. But
Bro,
because that didn't
imagine weakening or killing an enemy by just saying ratio.
you you just say I am Iron Man and Thanos snap and they just all evaporate away.
Wait, if Link had the Infinity Gauntlet, then why doesn't he use it to like
No, it's
snap
the
his
Infinity
fingers?
Triforce.
Yeah.
Infinity
It,
Triforce.
he just starts putting like Triforce pieces into the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just starts inputting the Konami code on the glove. Half the universe goes away.
Don't-
Uh, up,
It's
down,
just
down,
like
left, right, BA start.
big text signs pop up like you unlock God mode. Just starts firing lasers
He
everywhere.
just starts A posing and floating in the air. Oh, this is going
um,
off the rails. This is...
the am I okay. Back to the topic. I remember the original Zelda. I feel doesn't hold up as much, but I feel like there's a charm to it.
Yeah,
With the
I think the game holds up magnificently well for a game from the era. Whereas like when I'm playing Mario, right, I feel like it underperforms even compared to the other two Mario NES games. Let alone games like Super Mario World or 64. I mean, it just doesn't hold up as well. But I feel like I can play the original Legend of Zelda even after playing Breath of the Wild and still have a fantastic time with it because it's just very timeless to me. And it just works really, really well. Though, to be fair though, Mario and Zelda do hold a lot in common though, because they actually share a lot of sprite tiles for some reason, and it's very
And
odd.
apparently the same name. If you get that joke, you understand what I mean.
Uh,
um. Also, there's a question I never really figured out myself. So you know how, like, in the beginning of the game, you get a wooden sword
right.
from the old man?
Yeah.
I always wondered, how the hell, or heck, or whatever, how the heck do you think Link would be able to pierce armor with that thing, or when like, think of him going up against an iron knuckle with nothing but a wooden
Or going up like
sword.
a dark knot, right? Yeah,
A dark nut, actually.
I see what you
Actually,
mean. All right. So the last couple of minutes, I didn't hear. Well, I don't even. What were we last talking about?
basically,
Oh,
I was saying why the old man didn't just give you a magic sword, and I was saying that's like the equivalent of going into Kingdom Hearts without a Keyblade and just getting a stick.
Well, but
And then,
it's
and
the
then
reason
Glacier
why is
said,
because the old man didn't have access to the magic sword. That's why. I
then
mean,
how did he magic you a sword in the first place?
he only had access to the wooden. See, that's the thing. They're supposed to be different old men, but they share the same sprite. That's the problem. So that old man didn't have access to the magic sword.
you know what?
What's the call it? Skin color? Just make one white, one black?
Mm.
How that even
Just
work?
make their skin color match Link's tunic. It's fine.
What, they're green and dead?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mind if I talk about the community for Zelda Raw?
I mean, I don't know how well it relates to this specific game, but I mean, if you want to talk about it for a little bit, go right ahead.
Like, in my opinion, shoutouts to like the whole community who still remembers this game and treats it like there are a lot of Zelda games that came out for the ages. If we're not counting the CDI games, because I think that's for the better. But god darn it. Like we got getting Zelda 2, we got Long Korea Time, Link to the Past, we got Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, etc., etc. And I love how, even though we went like forward in time and such with the games, each one being different from the rest, the community still holds a special place in their hearts for the original Zelda. And
Yeah.
shoutouts to them for like growing
Yeah,
this
right.
game
And it's not that
like it is.
like people like if you were to go on like YouTube right now and look up Super Mario Brothers, unless it's like a tutorial video, I guarantee you it's a speedrun video. I have not seen anyone just legitimately play through Mario on YouTube like ever. And but I've seen a ton of people do it for Zelda because Zelda is a game that you're supposed to take your time with. You're not supposed to speedrun it. You're supposed to enjoy everything you do. And even if you know where everything is and know every path to take, it is still fun to just have that sense of mystery and wonderment. Even in Breath of the Wild, I don't really feel that as much because I can play through Breath of the Wild for a much longer time, but then once I reach the end of my playthrough, it's like, okay, what now? What do I do here? But with Zelda, I can easily play it multiple times.
Yes.
Yeah, just
I'm
collect
sorry.
the just collect the Korok seeds.
Also,
Uh,
Glacier, I'm sorry. When you said shout out, I was immediately thinking of shout out to Simple Flips.
why did you?
Why?
Why? Why?
Okay, no, speaking of shout out to like some of the original YouTubers or like some of the older like YouTubers who play some of the classic games or whatever. No.
Yeah.
Like, please tell me I'm not the only one who actually enjoy watching like YouTubers like some like back in the good old days of YouTube, I mean.
Oh yeah.
Please tell me I'm not the only one who like enjoy watching like some like I don't know if you ever seen YouTubers like Proton John or Nintendo Priest Son or whatnot.
I think that was a
Um,
little before my time. I started watching
but
in like
it is
the
nice.
golden age of the Vanoss crew. That's when I was into that.
Shout outs to them for like being well. Shout outs to them. Like I would
Yes.
love to like
Shoutouts
see
to
them.
Mini Led.
I would like to see the Runaway guys kind of get to. I want to see the Runaway guys just get together and
Mm,
just talk and play the original Zelda. Like no
yeah.
speed runs or anything. Just yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Honestly, bro. Like I do want to take a moment here because I feel like I mentioned Vanoss crew, and aside from the whole Mini Led debacle, I probably wouldn't be doing YouTube without them and their content. They made me realize that this was something that I could do and enjoy doing and actually help people with. So I would not be on YouTube today without them. So that's a shout out to them. But let's see. Let's get back onto
Let's get back to
Zelda.
the notes.
Let's get
Get
back to
back to the
Zelda.
point.
So yeah, I that is not something I ever thought I would hear. I mean, I think there's a lot of enjoyment to get out of the CDI game just for how bad it is. You know? Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I think the voice acting for Hotel Mario is better though. I mean, you have like Vine Sauce Mario. You know what they say, Luigi. All
Rob, say the
toasters
jokes
toast
for the
toast.
Mario thing. We should say the
Yeah.
Mario jokes for the Mario thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, so in my so let's talk about I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes.
Oh, that was in Link to the Past. I can't remember the name, but it's like the room. Yeah. I just watched a video on that the other day and I can't remember the dude's name. I don't feel like that's necessary to talk about.
All right.
But yeah,
Okay, so it is funny how the Zelda games can constantly jump between gameplay. Like the generally we now nowadays Zelda for being a 3D and stuff. But remember back then Link the Zelda games have jumped in different gameplay styles. Like then we have Zelda 1 who was like a like top down perspective. And you
yeah,
have games like Zelda 2 that had more focus on side scrolling.
right. Yeah, Zelda 2. That was a very interesting game, I think, and I think it's not as good as most other Zelda games, but I think it's a decent game, and I think it was definitely an interesting experiment. And actually, speaking of that, because the way that the overworld map works in that game, um, like Link is basically like a ginormous dude, and he's basically like moving around on a map as opposed to actually moving around on the world. That's kind of how the thing works, bro. Uh, I was trying to say, so the area near Death Mountain, if you look at the way that the land is laid out, it's actually laid out in the exact same way as the full overworld from the original game. And I thought that was a really cool detail that they actually kept that consistency of making the world laid out the same. They didn't have to do that, and I just want to say, that that was a really cool little detail to notice. But I mean, obviously the world is like infinitely bigger in scope because they do like the whole map thing, in that game. You know, I also want to talk about the name of the series too, like Legend of Zelda, and there's maybe like 10 games in the series where you can play as Zelda. Like, that's
Really?
funny,
How
isn't
many
it?
games are
There are a lot of games, dude, and I'm not even talking about mainline games really. Like I mean, you can play as Zelda in like Smash Bros. And like Hyrule Champions. I think that's pretty much it. Or is it called
Hyrule
Hyrule Warriors?
Champions?
That's an interesting one. He is an interesting character. I think, but see, it's funny, and I'd like someone in the comments to confirm this for me because I don't know if it's true, and I'll get back to the mask salesman in a minute. I just while I'm still on the name thing. Um, apparently, the game was actually supposed to be called The Legend of Link, but it was a screw up because by like the translators because they saw the name Zelda, so they called it The Legend of Zelda, and then the name just stuck. I don't have any actual proof that that's true or not, and I would like someone to confirm it for me. And if I find out, I'll pin the comment in the down below. If someone does confirm it, I'll pin it. Um, but yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing. And then for the mask salesman, he's definitely he has an interesting look. I'll give you that. I mean, yeah, but see, the funny thing is though, is that he's in Ocarina of Time and uh Majora's Mask. He doesn't really get any of that like darkness to him until Majora's Mask. That's the funny thing. Like if you talk to him in Ocarina of Time, he seems like a pretty normal dude. It's just I think what is so weird about the mask salesman in Majora's Mask is the fact that like he has like that very happy smiling face when he's like kind of really depressed and trying to find his masks and like on the like they didn't change his face in the game. They just used the same face for it and it just makes him really creepy in that game, which I think does benefit it, but yeah.
Remember when the Happy Mask salesman tried to strangle Link in Majora's Mask?
Hmm. Yeah. I've never played Majora's Mask cuz I just everybody says it's like one of, if not the best Zelda game, but to me, I just know that the whole like time mechanic would just annoy me. I'm not saying it's a bad mechanic. I just know personally for me it would annoy me. So I just don't want to put myself in that situation of just purposefully annoying myself, honestly. See, that's another kind of thing. It's like with Mario when you have the series lined up next to each other in the consoles they released on, Zelda always gets shafted. You know what I mean? When you compare it to Mario, right? And like I said, I love Mario. My favorite game is a Mario game. But when you think of the Nintendo, the NES, you think of Super Mario Brothers. When you think of Super Nintendo, you think Super Mario World. When you think of the N64, you think of Mario 64. But you have games like this one, and then games like Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask that just kind of get pushed to the sidelines when you look at your N64 library. And I don't really know why that is. And that's why I wanted to make this episode, as I said earlier, not just for this game, but for the entire series. I feel like I am mad that the Mario movie is getting made. Can I be honest about that? I am mad it's getting made. Oh, it was a Zelda Netflix series that was being planned, and they canned it. Do you want to know why they canned it? To work on their mobile games. So like, bruh, like we missed out on a Zelda Netflix series for Mario Kart Tour and Mario Run. Just
You
just
want to
like to
hear
throw
the
that out there.
funniest? Want to hear the funniest part, Raw?
What?
Mario Kart Tour is literally, in my opinion, the ultimate EA trick card.
Oh yeah, that game. That game is like, yeah. I mean, I don't even like the controls for that game anyway, but all I can say is I'm glad that they're finally bringing some Mario Kart Tour content into Mario Kart 8. Like, that's nice that, like, because
Most
you actually
importantly, Waluigi Pinball.
Yeah, we also have Waluigi Pinball. That's cool too. Yeah, it does. Waluigi is the Zelda of the Mario series. Uh,
Well, you saved my life.
Wah. Oh man.
Wah. It's
Ima
Waluigi
Imagine
time.
like that scene of Majora's Mask, the masked
Waluigi
salesman just turns
launcher.
around and he's just Waluigi. Uh,
What? I think.
Oh.
that I don't want to get into Ben Drowned because that's more
I
of
want to
I want to
get.
save that if we do an Ocarina of Time episode. I
There's something
feel
I
like
do want to talk about regarding the original Zelda.
there's
I don't think this
actually
is the best subject, because this would be the one I know the least amount about.
there's
The story.
there's actually a really cool detail in The Legend of Zelda that not a lot of people, well, I think by now a lot of people notice, but I don't think a lot of people notice on their first playthrough. So you know how the dungeons are all laid out to make like certain shapes, like one's an eagle, one's a skull, one's a swastika, you know, like that sort of stuff. Um, Apparently if you play, because there's actually like a New Game Plus type of game, also might be the first game to have that,
Really?
called, I think it's called the Master Quest. And if you play through the games, the dungeons have been reordered to where now on the map, if you reorder the letters, it spells out Zelda, which is cool. I mean, it's not really like that big of a deal, but it's cool. Yeah, yeah, right. It means like peace and prosperity. I think it's kind
Yes,
of
and
like
then yes, and then it became death and bad stuff.
yeah.
I was trying not to reference.
That's that's how you get the algorithms up. You got to make sure to mention Adolf Hitler in your first episode of anything.
We didn't mention. You're the only one who mentioned him by name.
Can we talk about the question? Can we talk about the story of the original Zelda?
Yeah, I had
What
wanted to talk
story?
about that because it's very interesting to me. Well, for one, the story of all those old NES games was told basically through the manual, so you would have no idea what's going on. But Zelda's not like that though, because Zelda you can perfectly understand what's going on without the manual, unless you actually want to play the game. Because if you don't have that map, you're kind of screwed. To be honest, you're screwed.
Didn't the main title screen also tell the story if you
Yeah, if you let it run after a while, it would tell the story of the game. Um, it's it's a very basic story, but I mean it works in its favor, I think. And
yeah, because of
yeah.
how simplistic the NES was, in my opinion.
Yeah. You didn't need this whole big grand thing. And that's nice.
We
You know?
lived in a day without like voice acting. We lived in a day without 3D graphics. We lived in a simpler time where all there was a simple CRT TV and a gray
Oh
brick
man. You
running
know,
And a
a
play
game about
and a
a
children's playset that
boy
literally
in
gave you
tights.
plutonium.
yeah, that was in the 50s though.
Oh.
That yeah. You know,
Let's
right
go,
at the
man.
height of
Let's
the
go.
nuclear war scare, let's go ahead and give them plutonium.
Literally gave children plutonium. Like what?
I didn't think plutonium was that easily accessible to make in a mass-marketed,
And give it to
widely
children.
released thing. That's
Even
oh
if that's
man.
the case, why was the first thought like, hey, let's give this crap to children?
All right. All right. Well, I
Jesus.
think it's about time for our break. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that the footage saves, and we will be right back in a minute. Despite the issues with Llama's recording, this is actually really fun for all of us. We all really enjoyed doing this, and we've got really great plans for this series. And I just really enjoyed doing this project with my friends, and it's really cool for us to all have something to work on together. So I hope you guys do enjoy this episode, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah, go ahead and enjoy the rest. All right, well, welcome back. Welcome back. We had a good break. We talked about things that were not dumb, I assure you. Uh, Now I'm looking at this title screen here, and it has the sword going through the leaves and then the Triforce. I want to talk about the Magic Sword over the Master Sword because I feel like the name of Magic Sword is just bad. And because to me, I feel like the Magic Sword should have had the ability of giving Link the beam. Does that make like is that weird? I feel like Link should have gotten the beam when he got the magic sword. Because it feels weird to me that he can just do that with a wooden sword. I don't know, is that weird? That he can just shoot a beam
Speaking
out of a
of
wooden
the
sword?
magic sword, are we gonna talk about the fact that the sword on the tile screen looks more like a rapier than it does, the actual sword
It
in the game?
actually looks more like the second sword that you get, because it has the blue hilt. But
Yeah, but it looks more like a rapier, don't you think?
it looks, yeah, look like a pirate sword or something. Yeah, it doesn't look like a. Yeah, that is
But
odd. Because it has the
from what I
whole, like,
seen,
wrist guard.
and I'm sorry for interrupting you, but from what I seen, the sword you get, the second sword you get in the game, looks more like a double-edged sword. If I were to judge by pixels.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not really fair to judge that, because it's like, it's a pixel
Game
art
Boy got
game.
any more than pixels?
Yeah. An 8-bit pixel game. I mean, that's the NES could only render 8 colors on its screen at once, bro. Like,
Really?
hmm. Well, okay. That sounds like something you'd say to a guy, to be honest. Show me them 8
And
bits.
then the magic sword. Then we have the magic sword. Oh boy, the magic sword. Where do I begin with it?
Uh,
Number one, I feel like it's kind of odd how it's the one weapon that, in my opinion, I think that out of all the swords in the game, the magic sword kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
yeah, right.
Mostly because of its sprite.
Yeah,
Because you
because it's
see
not.
how,
Yeah, it's the only sword in the game to have like a different blade style, which is
and
odd.
it looks all diagonal.
Yeah.
Like seeing sprite's more of a diagonal shape. And if I'm gonna, I'm sorry, but I have to bring up the Zelda cartoon again. But at least, like, I know it's unfair comparing a show to a game, but I can somewhat imagine the magic sword actually looking like that
Mm.
in the cartoon.
It's just like a little
Somewhat.
fairy dagger in that show, isn't it? Like, it's like
Well,
bro, my problem with Link in that show, he looks like Peter Pan, bro. Like,
Link's coming for them knees.
yeah, dude, really. Like, he literally looks like Peter Pan.
He's coming to
going
shake.
back to
He's coming to
going
shake
back
your
on
knees.
topic. Going back on topic. Oh, oh,
Yeah, but
that's what
then
we need
his
to talk about.
voice
Ganon.
sounded
Ganon.
awful. Yeah. I
I was
think,
gonna say, Ganon. I feel that should be something we should talk about. Correct?
yeah, yeah, let's talk about him. The big bad boy of the entire series. I feel like Ganon is a design that needs to be mentioned because he's just he's changed, but basically you have he's kind of the same because you have Ganon and Ganondorf, right? And Ganon is always
Ganon's
like a
lore.
pig monster, and Ganondorf is always, you know, like an incel. Um,
I mean, do you count Ocarina of Time Ganondorf as Ganon as well, since Ganondorf does turn into Ganon?
well, no, but he turns into Ganon, so Ganondorf is like a separate thing. Well, yeah, maybe because Ganon is actually menacing. Like, you know, like, Oh no, he's hot. Uh,
Okay, so Ganon,
bro.
I think Ganon, in a way, kind of. The funny thing about Ganon is you don't really hear much of him outside the actual story of the
Outside of
game.
like Zelda 2, where he just uses Soda Popinski's laugh for some reason.
So what?
Yeah, or no, Bald Bull's laugh, isn't it? No, no, is it Soda Pop? It's either. So yeah, in Zelda 2, whenever you die, like fully lose all your lives, Ganon pops up on your screen, and the laugh that he uses is just a slowed down version of either Soda Popinski or Bald Bull's laugh from Punch Out. Yes, yes, we are still. Oh yeah,
Are we gonna
that
talk about
they
the fact
always would
that
reuse stuff like that. It's funny.
Are we gonna talk about the fact that I think in the NES game, like Ganon had like a bluish skin color, while
Yeah,
I
he had a
think
he had a bright blue skin color, and I think yeah, he was
and
weird.
then
It's also weird too, because in those earlier games, Ganon would like he had like a humanoid body, but he was just like really big and had a pig head. But then once like Ganon and Ganondorf became like the two things, Ganon would like be on all fours and was basically just a giant pig. That I never really liked. I never liked that about him
what do
because
you dumb question, but what do you think of like Ocarina of Time Ganon?
yeah, see, I don't like that. I don't like that he's on all four legs.
I was talking about Ocarina of Time Ganon, not Twilight
Yeah,
Princess.
I don't know. I don't like care
Maybe
for Wind Waker Ganon either because he's just like or Ganondorf either because he's just like in a robe for some reason like he's in like a
He feels like someone from like Samurai Jack. He feels like a character from Samurai Jack.
dude.
I don't
He
know.
literally does. It doesn't help too because that game has a cel shaded art style too. It doesn't help that either.
I remember that's what caused everyone to bash this game so hard upon release.
Yeah, I've never actually played the Wind Waker. That is a game I do have on my list.
Lane.
You want to hear the funniest part about it though?
What?
The best way to play it is on the Wii U.
Yeah, well, because you get the best edition of the game or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think the original Legend of Zelda is a game that probably will stand the test of time. I think even 100 years from now, I honestly do. I think 100 years from now, I think people will still be playing this game because it's just such a seminal game. Well, it's easy now because you have the files on the computer. So, you know, uh, just be a pirate. Uh, all
I mean,
right.
I have
Well,
Switch.
yeah, if you have a Switch too, but I doubt that the Nintendo Switch Online service will be working 75 years from now. Yeah. Okay, no, don't say that. You cannot condone pirating on a. You can't do that. You cannot condone pirate. We do not condone pirating here. We do not. No, no, we
It's
don't. You
Captain.
cannot say that you
It's
condone pirating,
Captain
even if you
Llama.
do.
Captain
Oh,
Llama.
you know what? I think that's a great place to end everything there. I don't see how we can continue on. We had a relatively informed discussion. I'm proud of you guys. And no, I think that this episode went really well. I really do. I'm happy that you guys agreed to sit down with me and talk about one of my favorite games. And
Okay, can I say something else?
one more thing, and then I'm gonna close out the show. Go ahead.
All right. Mario, I know you are a classic, but to be honest, you have fallen from grace, like
Oh
heavily.
yeah, dude.
Well,
Hashtag make
maybe.
Zelda movie. Make
I
Zelda
mean,
movie.
hey,
That
I
needs
think
to be a
it's
new
fine.
hashtag on Twitter. I want to see it after this episode comes
Hashtag,
out.
hashtag
Hashtag make
Zelda
Zelda
movie.
movie. Like they actually made a movie about the one franchise that basically has and never needed any story as opposed to one that has rich, deep lore. Like
And
Metroid
the
movie,
confusing
Zelda movie,
timeline.
nah, make a movie about the funny Italian man.
Okay,
Oh
can
man.
we also mention the fact that Zelda has a very confusing timeline as well?
The timeline is very confusing, but that's a problem for the whole series, not a problem of this game. This game laid its story out in a very clear and concise way, and it's
And
just the other
consistent.
games that made it more
If you need help to
complicated.
figure out, just ask Matt Pat.
uh,
Welcome
just
to
yes,
Game Theory!
Yeah, like I'm joking, but like, let's be honest, he's probably like one of the few people to get the furthest in
yes. All
confusing
right, one
timeline.
more thing, Llama, and then I really need to close out this show.
Oh, okay,
Well,
you're
sorry,
pushing too far.
viewers, but we don't have any more time. Come back when there's a new episode. And, thank you, boys, for joining me. I have been Raw
Oh, no problem.
Lucario, and this has been Gaming Through the Ages. Goodbye.